why you can't lead with your wallet in a relationship in Southeast Asia. Um, Basically, in Southeast Asia, that's a pretty amazing rainbow. We got our view here from the 70th floor. But yeah, basically in Southeast Asia, you're going to come across a lot of less fortunate women, and you're going to get into a situation where they are going to make you feel as though they are your boyfriend from the jump on the telephone. There'll be a lot of "you're so handsome, babes," to "good morning, good night, have you eaten yet?" Things of that nature. And what's going to happen at a certain point is you're going to ask them how their day was, and your typical customary thing after multiple days of talking and stuff. And they are going to tell you "not good" is going to be their next answer. After the "not good," you're going to go, "oh my God, what's wrong?" And then they're going to say, "I'm late on my rent, I'm late on my tuition, I ran out of load, my father's in the hospital, my scooter broke down, my phone broke." Many hardships that may or may not be occurring. So you're going to be in a situation where essentially you're going to be tempted to lead with your wallet at that point. You've been made so the de facto telephone boyfriend, even though you may never set one foot into the Philippines. You're probably in your home country. You might be in Manila, they might be in Dumaguete. Whatever it is, they've now presented you with a life's hardship after getting extremely close to you. So it's kind of a tricky little situation you're in, where if you were that, if you had a girlfriend and she wasn't exactly well off, and you guys were living together and having sex with each other and in love, essentially, you would more than handle, a broken telephone or a phone bill or a taxi to work or whatever. But what you have to understand, as much as it doesn't feel like that, and Filipinas are extremely sweet and most are good, you are speaking to a straight up stranger who may be speaking to 17 other foreigners and may have no intention of meeting you. They may be married. They may have a 23-year-old Filipino boyfriend. There's really no telling who you're actually talking to. And the chances of you meeting them in person is probably at 10%. You may or may not even have your passport. There's just a lot that kind of goes into that whole thing. You can see Manila Bay with the rainbow right here, very beautiful. But yeah, so you're going to be tempted to lead with your wallet, and I got to tell you, don't. When you lead with your wallet with any woman, you are essentially saying, "Hey, I don't really respect myself, and I'm a low value guy." I don't care if you send $2 worth of load. You're essentially setting a precedent that you are so out of your league that you are comfortable sending money to strangers for the fear of losing that woman. And that is a dangerous area to be in, essentially. You're in a spot where you're kind of showing your weakness, your low value, your desperation by providing 1 peso to that girl. And I know this sounds weird, but it's like a mental thing, that a woman loses respect for a man when he starts paying for things and she's sleeping with another man, she's talking to 7 other men, or even just in general, even if she's doing none of those things. You're essentially leading with your wallet. 100% of the time when you give in to that issue, even if it's load, there will be a second request, usually 24 to 48 hours later. Something like they need a Grab to work, or they need $20 for food, or something as big as tuition, or their father had a heart attack. All of these things may or may not be true. Usually they're not true. And most Filipinas are amazing and good, but the scammers live online, as I've said 9,000 times. So once you start leading with your wallet, it'll be like a guy that a viewer of mine had emailed me about, that he has been with a woman for 18 months. And he started off giving some support. And, he figured, hey, let me give you, $100 a month or whatever. It's nothing to me. I'm a Westerner. We're in love. It's a much younger, beautiful woman, or whatever the case may be. And then he's 18 months in. He's been sending that $100, maybe a little more than $100 every month. And to a Filipina, that could be half of your household income. Some of these Filipinas, their whole household income could be $250, $300. So if you're sending, $110, $120 a month, nothing to you. Could make that, half a day, probably not a day, probably in America, I don't know, a couple hours, I don't know, whatever it is, doesn't matter. You've sort of said, hey, you know what, I'm kind of coming purse first, I'm coming wallet first, and you've known that person for a long time. What happened now is he said, hey, you know what? I can't do it this month. I got other things going on. I'm not going to be doing it. Now that person's brushing him off. So what you get to is a point where respect is lost. It gets to the point where it's expected. And then all of a sudden, they are giving you the cold shoulder like, oh, thanks for the, 120,000 pesos and, creating half of my household income, but fuck you. That's where you're in a point where, me personally, if a girl did that to me even for a couple hours, she's done. The money was a gift. I don't care. You can never come back from that with a guy like me. I wouldn't have sent it to start with, but if I was dumb enough to send it and then a woman gave me the cold shoulder for a day, a week, an hour, and kind of was like ghosted me because I wasn't basically providing the sugar daddy allowance that I had grown so accustomed to sending, maybe something came up. Maybe I lost money in the stock market. Maybe my daughter needed money. Maybe I didn't feel like it. Maybe I'm going on a trip, whatever the case may be. Then you're in a weird spot where essentially you just lost out on your whole relationship. Now, if from the jump, what I do is girls will always hint to me, hey, you know what, I got a little something. They usually don't ask, but they'll say, hey, man, I'd like to keep communicating with you. I'm running out of load. Facebook Messenger is free, guys, for these Filipinos. You can just add them on Facebook, I'm sure their 10th or burner Facebook and your burner Facebook, and you can communicate that way. 3 things will happen when you do that with a woman. I always say, nope, I'm not sending you 1 peso. I don't mind, if we meet, I'll take you to eat, or I can, get us a hotel room or whatever, but until I physically meet you, not 1 peso is getting exchanged. I don't even know your routing number, or your PayPal, or your, GCash or whatever, because you're getting 0.0 money from me, even to transport yourself to me. You got to show some initiative and some actual burning desire or some interest. So what they'll do is, A, they'll ghost you completely. Good riddance, perfect, glad, I'm a 45-year-old dude or whatever. I don't need a sugar daddy, a girl that just wants me for my money. 2, they'll contact you half as much. So they're kind of lukewarm on you now because they know you're not a sugar daddy. No problem, perfect, works for me. Number 3, which actually happens to me a lot, luckily, they'll come on just as strong, scrape up whatever money they need, switch it to Facebook Messenger, whatever the case may be. That's the great outcome. You've kind of set a frame that you are not that guy and you are not a human wallet and you're just not going to do it. Works well sometimes when they think, hey, you know what, this guy is kind of handsome, he's holding his ground, I'm actually interested. They all know that when you get to the Philippines or when you get to their city or when you take them on as your girlfriend, you're going to change them to a Western standard of living, which is a major come up from the fucking goddamn Nipa hut or the house with no electricity in Negros to this. The fucking skyscraper, the Boracay oceanfront place, the 70th floor, the infinity pool, the sauna. This is like a rags to riches Cinderella fucking, breakfast at Tiffany's, fucking Marilyn Monroe. Trust me, man, this is a big deal. Their sister, their cousin, their dad, everybody's gonna be like, what the hell, when they start posting pictures on this balcony or from my Boracay place. So I mean, it is what it is. It's either a deal where they get you with it and they want you, or they're a good actress and they know the payoff's coming, so they just accept it, or they lose out early because they didn't get load, or they didn't get the 1,000 pesos for the grab, or whatever. First of all, don't fall for the grab shit. These people all take 12 peso jeepneys. They have 12 pesos. I had a girlfriend that was 21. I was 45. I lived in BGC. She would ride multiple 12 peso jeepneys to come see me on her own dime, even if it was raining. Okay, and I'm not Brad Pitt or Tom Cruise, so just don't worry. They'll do it. They'll do it if they like you. So got to kind of set your frame early and stick with it, and don't waver from that. They'll see that you're a high value man that has confidence, that has options, and they will respect that sometimes. Sometimes they back off completely. Hey, lesson learned. Bullet dodged. They're talking to 12 other guys. They're probably juicing them for $100 each. Most guys on Philippines websites are going to be older gentlemen, low self-esteem guys. No offense, but that's just what it's going to be. So it can be an occupation for women, unfortunately. You get 3 foreigners to send you $100 each, which is relatively easy. You just replace having to stand there for 72 hours a week as a hostess in Boracay or a waitress or anything, really. Any regular job in Manila or Boracay. So it just is what it is, guys. I'm doing consultations now for your move to the Philippines if you're interested in one-on-one, undivided attention for me to, map out your travel plans or tell you what to do and what not to do, what dating sites are good. If you're in an LDR, you want me to analyze that and, maybe test and make sure she's a faithful woman and that she doesn't have a husband or a boyfriend or something, let me know. JasperInThePhilippines@gmail.com. Like, comment, subscribe, and share the video. And sana all. Beautiful day in Manila. Had the rainbow at the beginning. Manila Bay.